Hello and welcome to my first tutorial video in probably well over a year. So I've recently figured out how to make a turret's aim at a moving target regardless of what angle or rotation they're on at the beginning. Here's a little example. You'll see that they've all turned to face the target that I've got. And you'll also notice that I have specifically put them on various rotations to show that they will still all then face where they need to face, and it really doesn't matter what angle you've got it set on. It will do its best to then aim where you're going. I don't have any angle restrictions set up, so as you can see this one is aiming through the ground, but that is something that's quite simple to set up, and I might set up in this tutorial or make a comment in the YouTube video showing how to do it, something like that. Anyway, let's get started. So I've already got this set up and working, but we'll start from scratch so you guys can follow me through. So the first thing I did was in Maya modeled my little turret. So I've got it set up in three parts. I've got a base, which is literally just a base. It won't be moving, it won't be anything. It's essentially the root of the actor we'll have set up. Then I've got my platform, which will do the rotation on the yaw axis. And then I've got my turret, which will do the, or my canon I guess, which will do the rotation on pitch. So when they're all combined, it can work quite smoothly. Now when I export them as an FBX to go into Unreal, what I do is before I export them, I move them down to center their pivot. I export them like that, and then I'll move them back for display sake, so that when I import them, you'll see that they are imported on their, there's the flat plane, the x-axis, whatever, I'm not sure, but you'll see that it is situated with the pivot point, so that when I don't actually need that, when it rotates on the pitch, it'll be rotating at the center of this center of the mount for it. And the base mesh and the platform. Alright, so let's start from scratch, shall we? So I'll go blueprints. The first thing I did was I set up a target, which is quite literally I went to create an actor. I'll call it tutorial target, and all I did was put a sphere in there, and I changed its material color. I think I also scaled it, so maybe, yeah, so I scaled it a bit, but that's not important. So I'll get rid of this one, and there we go. So that's all we needed to do for the target. Now let's go to the turret. So I'll go blueprint, actor, I'll go tutorial, turret. And first thing I'll do is I'll set up 3 static meshes. So since I've got it blank at the moment, all I have to do is the hotkey control and W twice to get myself 2 more static meshes. So I'll name them base mesh, platform mesh, and canon mesh. So the base mesh will be the root mesh that we made. And then we'll go platform mesh, and then we'll go canon mesh. Now as you'll see, they come in the position that we exported them. So it's just a matter of moving them up. I'm pretty sure because of the way I did it, this can sit on a 2. And you can move this up to where you need it. I'm pretty sure mine comes to about 14, 12, 14, something like that. And you can always just play with the pitch to see how it looks. That looks good to me. So first thing we shall do is make sure that this thing actually has its target. So we'll go get all actors of class, and we'll go tutorial target. We'll drag out from the out actors and we'll get a copy of the 0 index, which will be the first one that it encounters, since we have only got the one target in the map. It will find that. I'll make a follow-up tutorial showing how to do more in-depth target finding and tracking, but for now we'll just go with the single target. So we'll set that as a variable of target. So then what we want on tick is to get our target, get the location of that target, and set that as a variable as well. So get target location. Now in the example that I had, the turrets would only aim once the target got within a certain distance. So to do that, what we do is we get the target location and we get this actor's location, so the turret's location. We subtract a vector from a vector, and we then get vector length. Nope. Vector length, there we go. I was writing get, I didn't need to write get. And then we check if it's less than or equal to, I had it set for I think 2048 before, we'll just go 1024. Put in a branch, go off of our tick, and that will check target distance. So what we need to do from there is I'll create 2 custom events. One is aim at target and one is reset aim. So if the distance, drag them out the way, so if the distance is, if it is within that range, we'll aim at the target. If it isn't, we will reset our aim. Cool. So I might just need to have a quick look at my notes, because there's a little bit of maths coming up, and I'm not that great at maths. So we'll go with the aim at target. So what we want to do is we want to get the platform mesh and the canon mesh individually and set their relative rotations. So what the relative rotation does, if you don't know, rather than setting it as a world rotation, it will set the rotation relative to its parent. So we've got the base mesh at, rotation is 0, 0, 0. If we rotate this, say 90 degrees, in its relative, it'll come up as 90 degrees in the z-axis relative to its parent. So the way that helps us is if, for example, the base is up on an angle against a wall, when we're working relative rotation, it flat out ignores the fact that it's on an angle. and it can still do all of its equations. If we were trying to work stuff out with world direction, we'd have to keep in mind that it was on that 90-degree or whatever angle against a wall or on a ceiling, upside down kind of thing. And it's just much more of a headache to try and get that to work. So I'll reset that back for now. And what we want to do is, when we're setting that one's relative rotation, we want to make rotator. And we're only for the pipeform mesh going to use the z-axis. So what we'll do is we'll copy and paste that for the canon mesh, and we'll only use the pitch. But for now I can just move those like that. Alright, here comes the fun maths part. So I'll pause the video over this once I've finished explaining it so people can just copy and paste it or whatever. And what we want to do is start by getting the actor transform. So the whole transform, the scale, the location, the rotation of this whole actor. And then what we want to do is get our target location variable, which, if you remember, is the vector location of the target that we're tracking, the thing we're trying to look at. Then what we want to do is drag out a reference to our canon mesh and get the world location of that canon mesh. No, that works. Yeah. So what we do is we then go vector minus vector, or vector subtract vector, and we subtract the world location from the target location. Then what we do is we drag out from the actor transform and type in inverse transform direction. Now this is the piece of magic that I saw someone else on the Unreal Engine forums use. I cannot explain to you how it works. There's a little pop-up saying transform a direction vector by the inverse of the supplied transform. Will not change its length. For example, if t was an object's transform, this would transform a direction from world space to local space. So my understanding is it just changes something from world space to local space, and that helps it do its maths properly. And for the direction, what we do is we add in the target location subtracting the canon mesh's world location. And then we drag that out and make rot from x. We want to make a rotator from the x value. Then what we do is we break that rotator, and then what we do is we drag the yaw to our platform mesh and the pitch to our canon mesh. So then we click compile. And we won't worry about the resetting of aim at the moment, but just to show that this works, I'll delete the current turrets, put in a tutorial turret. So there's our new tutorial turret. I'll click and drag out another one, rotate it, and click out and drag. Click and drag out another one. I'll make him, 90 degrees and up on this wall. Now if all goes to plan, actually what I might do is quickly, on the canon mesh, we'll add another component of an arrow. And then we will just scale that up. Now, we want to make that, we want to turn off hidden in game. Compile. There we go. So you can see they are all looking at our target. You can see it will rotate, everything rotates the way it needs to. There's, once again, because we haven't set a limit, it will go through the ground if its target goes through the ground, but everything as far as we're concerned at the moment is working perfectly. Beautiful. So what we want to do is, as a basic, just reset aim. So what we do is we can copy and paste this set relative rotation, and we can just plug it straight in. So we're resetting both the platform and the canon mesh back to 0. So compile again. I will drag it so it goes out of range, and they will reset back to where they were. See? Beautiful. Now in the example, everything moved pretty smoothly. That's because I had interp going. So what we can do is we can modify this slightly. So we'll make a second brake rotator and plug that into the pitch. So we've got that like that. What we want to do is I will just drag these out a bit further to make some room. What we want to do is copy the platform mesh and the canon mesh references. And what we want to do is get the relative rotation, so drag out relative rotation of both of these. So I'm copying and pasting that down to here as well. And then from the relative rotation, drag out and go R interp to constant. And the target, we want to then switch this rotator that we had to the target. And then we put the R interp into that rotation. The delta time, we can drag out and go delta delat, delta world seconds. The interp speed I had set to 125 for example's sake. I'm going to set it to 50. So then we can copy that, paste it, do the same, put the canon mesh relative rotation into the current, put the rotator that we made into target, and then drag the R interp into the set relative rotation. Then we can click compile, save, and when we go to the level, there we go. We can see it work. They are. Oops, I dragged the wrong way. You can see that they will follow around, and you can change the interp speed to whatever you want to make it smoother. Entirely up to you. With the reset aim, it's pretty simple. We just need to, we can delete the make rotator that we had. Drag these two, grab these two interps, copy, paste them, hook them up, grab the platform mesh and the canon mesh relative rotations, plug them into current, and leave the target as 0. And that's how we do it, because then when it's out of that range, it will take where it's currently set, so where it's looking at, and then just interp back to 0. So I will grab this and we'll drag it out of range, and then you can see that they'll move back out of range. So I don't have any anything put in place to fire a weapon or a projectile. Again, I'll do a follow-up tutorial adding projectiles and damage and that kind of stuff, but for the time being, I think, whoops, get. That is essentially everything that we need to know to get this turret to aim the way we need it. So thank you for watching my little tutorial, and yeah, I think the next tutorial I will add in the restrictions, the angle restrictions, I'll put in some clamps and some more maths that I'm not good at, and get it working to so that they have a maximum and a minimum that they can aim, so they can't aim through themselves. So yeah, hope you guys look forward to seeing that one come up, and I hope you managed to follow this and enjoyed my tutorial. Thank you.